Hey everybody, happy Friday. I'm going to get this video knocked out, getting ready to head to dinner. So I have my final video until Monday to do for the Tech Time series. So today's is going to be on dieback. I feel like over the course of years, dieback has been a very popular topic for me. It's one that I have covered on many different occasions, but also it's something that every single painter has encountered at some point and will continue to encounter at some point. And a lot of times the reasons that it's occurring, they just do not know why it's occurring or even how to solve it or how to move past it or what to do. So let's dive into that a little bit. Textbook dieback, in my opinion, for what a lot of people are suffering in the industry, tends to come from a lack of airflow. So are there other reasons? Are there trap solvent reasons? Are there over application reasons? Are there improper temperature of reducer or hardener, improper flash time? Yes, all of those can contribute and cause dieback. But the majority of the reasons that you're seeing textbook dieback, loss of gloss on topside surface panels, mostly topside surface panels, is because of lack of airflow. So something for a long time in this, I have talked to painters who were under the impression that they could paint something and like the last car of the day, they could just leave it in the booth, close it up, go home, totally fine. When I come back in the morning, it'll be good to go. The problem is that when you're done painting, all of that burst of solvent is going to be escaping from what you painted, whether that was a sealer and then a base and then the clear, or if it was even more than that. Like, let's say you're doing something that involves multiple stages of base coat color or tri-stages or any of those things, you're adding more layers to the surface, which means you're adding more solvent to the equation. And what you're going to find out in a lot of this is that solvent is kind of an issue in a lot of cases. It's the solvent that we need. It's the carrier for what we're doing with solvent-based products. And if you don't follow proper protocols, you will have issues with that. So why does it happen? Well, if you left the car in the booth, let's just say you're painting in a booth, and you close the doors and you leave and you come back, and all of your hood, your deck lid, your roof, the trunk, all of that stuff has no gloss, right? Why is that? Why is it that the driver door, the passenger door, or all the doors look fine, or the back looks fine, or the bumpers look fine? Why is that? Well, when the solvent was escaping in that burst that I was talking about, that happens when it all leaves over the course of the night. You get the first initial cure of that 12 hours. That's when the most is going to escape. Again, it's going to escape 30, 60, 90, but that first initial amount is going to escape. When that happens, all of it goes into the air. And if you don't have proper airflow, or if you don't have the booth running, or if you don't have a fan running, it's going to go up into the air and it's going to have nowhere for it to go. So it's going to fall right back down on top of those surfaces. When it falls back down, it's not hitting anything that's vertical. It's going to hit the things that are horizontal. So when that happens, the solvent goes back down on top of it and it just kills the gloss. Now, can you get rid of it? Yes, you could cut and buff it and you can buff back the gloss and you won't have that issue. And it won't die back again later if that was the cause of the dieback. If lack of airflow was the cause of your dieback, you can buff it and it won't come back again. Now, if you're using products that are going to have that happen to you a little bit later on, you could buff it and it could start to die back again. Now, typically when you're seeing that happen, that's going to be more along the lines of the textbook shrinkage that people talk about that they get. And that's from using cheaper, products that are using inferior resins that have those shrinkage issues. Not all products shrink the way that people make them sound. Not all the resin technologies do that. Lower solids clears tend to have more of those issues than higher solids clears because obviously you have more resin in the equation with higher solids versus using lower solids, which has more solvent. So that's things to play with. So again, if you're having it happen on the topside surfaces, that means you induced that dieback. It means you're in control of solving it and you are in control of fixing it. So let's talk about that form of dieback first. So if you walk in the next day and you're like, oh shit, this happened, what do I do? Well, obviously now you know you can cut and buff it and you can get rid of it. But what can you do moving forward to ensure this doesn't happen again? You can run a box fan at the very front of your booth. I know it sounds kind of like, really, that would work? It absolutely works. So people leave their booth running for a period of time, right? You leave it running for 30, 45 minutes to an hour in most cases. Most people don't want to leave their booth running overnight. They just don't want to. It's not cost effective. You don't want to do it. You don't want to leave the fan on. They just don't trust leaving the fan on. So they want to shut it down before they leave. The problem is you don't want to shut the door. You can shut the booth down after everything, everything's exhausted out. And you let all the solvents that are coming out initially right after painting it, you're allowing those for the booth to be cycling those out. So that's all well and good. But if you close the door, that's going to continually happen and there's nowhere for it to go. So if you put the box fan at the front of the booth, and you can leave it cracked, doesn't have to be fully open. You don't want to do that either, but you can leave it cracked, right? Where airflow can be coming in from the shop into the booth, and that fan, super cheap box fan, super cheap to run, it can go overnight, it's not hurting anything, it's just going to continually force the air to keep flowing, allowing it to pull from the rest of the shop, allowing it to exhaust from the booth out into the shop, which is allowing the solvent to dissipate from the substrate that you painted, right? Allowing that air to just kind of do what it's doing and just nicely whisk away the solvents so that you don't get the textbook dieback. That solves that. So if you're having that happen, or if you've had that happen and you wondered why, that is a solve. And I have not told one person to date this trick and it not work. And that's me teching people that were using other products. So a big reason I get a lot of phone calls is I have dieback issues. I don't want to use the clear I'm using anymore. Do you have something that isn't going to have that happen? I had one today, actually. And that's part of why I wanted to do the video as well. I had a call about it. And with this particular guy, he was using a fast clear from Speedo Coat. And I already said, well, those can be more commonly happening with that clear just based on it being lower solids and things like that. But he was baking it and it was a fast clear and he was over baking it. And a lot of people don't realize that in his mind, he wasn't over baking it. He was baking it for a normal cycle of like an totally messed up, overall clear. So he was baking it at like 25, 30 minutes like you would at 140, 150 for traditional clear, but speed clears don't like being overbaked and some of them don't like being baked at all. So if you're baking that could force you to have dieback when you would not normally have dieback. So that's just a little tip there. Don't overbake your speed clears and or don't bake them at all. But if you just do a shorter cycle, like a 5 to 10 minute cycle on like a 1 hour clear, that won't cause you to have artificial dieback issues that you wouldn't normally have. So that's just something there if that helps you. Now, can you have dieback from adding in solvent? You can if you're adding in a low quality reducer. Low quality reducers, what does that mean? It means solvents are one, and I'll get into a topic on another day about solvents and get into that, about how corrupt the solvent industry is. But something that a lot of them do is they have moisture contents. And the moisture content actually robs part of the catalyzation process and can cause the look and appearance of dieback as well. So when you hear painters say adding in reducer causes dieback, if you were adding in a quality reducer, like a Revolt reducer, a high-end PPG reducer, a high-end BSF reducer, if you're adding in a high-end quality reducer, they don't have moisture content issues. They're certified. You get a document when you buy the solvents in a raw form. It states it passes the certification process of how much moisture is in it. Obviously, a small percentage is allowed, but when you get the certified ones, they don't allow any. It's such a low, minuscule amount, it does not affect anything. So that's why I always say use a high quality reducer. If you do that, then you won't get dieback for those reasons if you're using a good quality. Realize lower solids clears automatically have that solvent built in, right? That's the difference between a low solids and a high solids. More solvent, less solvent. So you are just adding in solvent that they didn't already do for you. That should not automatically cause you to have dieback issues like people try to say. And it's not the case for most people. So again, adding in solvents that are not of quality, not having adequate airflow. Now, if you wait too long of a flash time, if you wait far too long and then you come back over top of it, if it starts skimming, then it gets trapped. And if it gets trapped, that's going to cause you to get dieback, just normal dieback, meaning you've done everything. You had airflow going, you did everything, you had proper temperature hardener, you had proper flash, but you just having dieback that you can't quite figure out. You could be having it simply because you waited too long of a flash or you waited too short of a flash. So that's how paint is. It could be too long, it could be too short. You always have to find the happy medium. And that's where you should keep yourself in the happy medium when it comes to paint. Too much of anything is bad, too little of anything is bad. So if you stay right in the center where you're supposed to be, most things will work the way they need to. So in the end, if you want to solve your dieback that's happening like on your top side surfaces, keep a box fan going, keep proper airflow going, use proper temperature hardeners, use proper temperature reducers, use quality grade reducers, don't use junk reducers, don't use the cheapest reducer you can find and think it's gonna work. It might work okay in your base coat, but it won't work okay in your clear coats. Those are a completely different animal and they don't like it. So hopefully that was helpful. I'll dive into this a little bit deeper on the topic of solvents and things like that and what the difference between solvents are, because I want to talk about that. There's absolutely a difference between lower quality and higher quality solvents, not to the level that they charge you necessarily, but there is a difference. Hopefully this was helpful. You can always ask me more things in the questions below and I'll be able to answer those for you as well. Hope you guys have a great Friday. RevoltAutoPaint.com. Take care. I'll see you Monday.